As soon as something happens and the media erupts, the reaction of the public is instant and abrupt. They never seem to question or ever wonder why the agenda that's being pushed only ever takes one side. So for days on end, this endless feed of putrid propaganda, dismissing whole religions but never trying to understand that if the actions of the few are the actions of the masses, then history suggests that they must have missed the classes where the West built up their empires and slaughtered as they went. And the higher up the stakes, the more the time they spent, summarily executing every dissident they met. And now they claim these shootings are the harshest sentence yet. And the media all love it, because it fits their common enemy, and gives them the excuse to spout intolerance and bigotry, and pretend to be purveyors of some diplomatic dignity by citing the sheer terror and the scale of inhumanity as if murder wasn't something that's dictated every day to the armies celebrated in those countries far away. And I know people say it's the right to say their piece, under the murky auspices of freedom of speech. But I can't help come to think that it's a bit ironic that a company that's been lauded and applauded as iconic could decide to sack a member back in 2009 for choosing to speak freely, and the nature of their crime was that the comments that they made were deemed as anti-Semitic. So forgive me if I come across as being unsympathetic, but if it's one law for Muslims and another for Jews, then how can I stand here in defence of their views? Because I've heard it said on CNN, it was on the news at 10, that out there's an enemy, and right here we're all friends, just so long as we all stand against the same people and religions, and mirror one another with the strength of our convictions, and shop in the same shops, always buying the same things, to put in our same houses where we're pulled by the same strings, just like puppets that are mastered to be parodies of men, where we live out the same days and then do it all again, and this constant homogeneity is killing our ideas. So we take the easy option and we shop in the IKEAs, and we stop in at the drive-thru as we're making our way home, to shut our front doors so we can finally be alone, to subject ourselves to the brainwashing of those who write the news. That's got the people watching and accepting now as true. But I've lived in Muslim cultures and been at a Muslim marriage. And the fact is, I was welcomed, not diminished and disparaged, for being the only white man in the village at that time, despite the constant pillage by my skin and the crimes that are committed every single day by Christians from the West, who are claiming now to liberate the people they oppress by wiping out their villages, their people and their culture, to pave the way for the industries and the corporate vultures to fight amongst each other just to pick the corpses clean, and to rebuild their country as an American dream. And because I'm not completely nuts, I think the killing's wrong. But that also applies to the weak by the strong. It applies to the hundreds of thousands, the millions of innocent people and slaughtered civilians who have gone to their death without ever a word on the main evening news. And I find it absurd that now presidents gather with this united we stand, when the one thing that binds them is the blood on their hands. But when the list of injustice is too long to mention, and they speak of their wish and their noble intention to help rid the world of this terrorist evil, they should start with themselves in their moral upheaval. Because the people I fear are dressed up in suits, in their government offices dictating the truth. Not just people like me who are trying to get by in a world where we label the people who die as a product of war when they're on the wrong side, or a brave fallen soldier who fought and then died in defence of the freedoms we cherish and pride. Except when those freedoms are in Palestine, then it's a case of say nothing, it's fine. Or Iraq and Afghanistan, Pakistan, Syria, this imminent threat and constant hysteria of terrorists everywhere joining the fight in occupied lands where the West sees the right to be there in the first place in the name of democracy. But what kills me is seeing this latest hypocrisy of flags at half-mast to honour the dead, king of a country that'll lash and behead, while the news speaks of ISIS and the threat that they bring and the ongoing crisis when they do the same thing. While the puppet regimes are put in their place by the same politicians who claim to embrace this freedom of speech, yet go on to install the rules of free speech as a law for us all. And the crux, as I see it, is a new Patriot Act. That's pan-European, while the people react. to the fear that they're fed just to keep them in check. They'll enact and exact it and come to expect that by making new laws it'll keep us in line, but they're forgetting the flaws that are there by design, that man is an animal. So cage if you must, but you'll only succeed in betraying our trust. And if our loyalty is tested, we still know how to fight. So if you beat us enough, then expect us to bite. And I would never condone what happened in France. I'm just saying that people, if given the chance, are quick to condemn, but slower to see the rights of all men to be equal and free, and not just of them with whom they agree.